Biden decided that he's going to completely blow up the Supreme Court and the way that it's worked for the last jillion years, because he wants to appease to the far left, and he wants to just completely revamp how it operates. And so he was leaving the White House to go and give a speech about this. He was in Austin, I think, and he left. And he's so demented at this point that he doesn't realize that when there's a helicopter going and there's reporters way back here screaming questions at you, when you answer those questions, nobody can hear you. Okay, so this is what it looked like.
Can Harris beat Trump? Can Harris beat Trump? Can you come closer, sir?
Mr. President!
Oh my God.
They can't hear you.
What? Mr. President, how can you put term limits on the Supreme?
We saw this. My husband and I saw this footage yesterday, and Greg actually did an imitation of him in the living room. He was just like, he's so old. He can't the way he walks. He was just laughing at the way that he walks, and he's just like, watch, and he's shuffling across the floor. I was dying laughing. Listen, I don't think he's going to do any, when it comes to Supreme Court, I think it's a wish list. Nothing. Do you honestly think he's going to
he can't do anything.
He can't do shit, you guys.
He's powerless to do the things that he's asking for. But the fact of the matter is he's starting the conversation to get the more radical people in his party, like Kamala, to start talking about it so that it becomes a thing. Democrats are so good at this. They make things issues that weren't issues. That's why we hear so much talk about reparations, right? It's the same thing. Before, even back in Obama's presidency, he scoffed at the idea of reparations. Obama scoffed at it. And now it's like a routine thing that people talk about all the time. And if Democrats take power, it will happen.
As you would say, it's like this is his idea of manifestation.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Mm-hmm. Exactly right. So here was the breaking news report from Fox about Joe Biden's plan. He released an op-ed about it. Obviously, he didn't write it, but he released an op-ed, and then his Twitter account released a summary of the op-ed. And here are the 3 pillars of his plan.
President Biden has just announced proposals to reform the Supreme Court. This happening literally a minute ago. These would include no immunity for crimes a former president committed in office, term limits for Supreme Court justices,
That's funny.
and a binding code of conduct for the Supreme Court. Joe Biden also releasing a new op-ed this morning saying in part, quote, "This nation was founded on a simple yet profound principle. No one is above the law. Not the President of the United States, not a justice on the Supreme Court of the United States, no one. I have overseen more Supreme Court nominations as Senator, Vice President, and President than anyone living today. I have great respect for our institutions and separation of powers. What is happening now is not normal, and it undermines the public's confidence in the court's decisions, including those impacting personal freedoms. We now stand in a breach." Katie Cherkasky is a constitutional law attorney and former federal prosecutor. She's here now to react. Katie, that's a mouthful. What's your reaction to those plans?
Well, these are very pie-in-the-sky type of ideas. Nothing about the Supreme Court reforms could be immediately implemented, but it certainly shows the position of the Democrat Party. They don't like the outcome of the court's ruling, so they want to change the rules here. So many of these reforms would require, if not legislation, actual constitutional amendments. So again, not politically viable at the moment, but certainly a strong and radical position.
Yes.
Oh, it's radical.
Yeah, I love how. Sorry, I didn't see who said it, but somebody says 52-year employee of the federal government now wants term limits.
Right? I mean, that was everybody's immediate reaction is how dare you talk about term limits when you've been in the Senate your entire existence?
Right. Now do Congress and the Senate. Shut up with this.
Oh my God.
And then he wants an ethics code. He wants a code of ethics. Do you know what the word ethics means? He wrote none of this.
None of it.
He has no idea what even went out. None of this was written by him. He doesn't write.
And it's amazing too, because this court has by and large, been actually very, very fair. They've just, because there's been plenty of times that they've ruled with Democrats, and all of us have been like, oh, that sucks, right? Like, we've been disappointed plenty by this Supreme Court, which should actually make people feel much more confident in it.
Right.
Because they don't just do things that conservatives expect them to do every time. They weigh every case on its individual merits, and they vote, and they
do. Sometimes I'm super disappointed in them. I'm super disappointed in the quote conservatives when they rule on things. And furthermore, Joe Biden has put his middle finger up at the Supreme Court at certain things, as we've seen during his tenure as president. And so when it comes to code of ethics, or, just like doing the having power and control over things, like, he is doing the wrong thing by, well, the Supreme Court says X, I'm going to do Y. I'm just going to give him the middle finger and do it. Dude, like, this whole op-ed is just such a hypocritical piece of crap.
I mean, it's insane. And so they're so blind to their own damage that they have done to public perception of the Supreme Court. They're constantly railing after Clarence Thomas on nonsense. I mean, they are constantly doing this, and then they're like, oh my gosh, nobody trusts the Supreme Court. Yeah, because you idiots keep denigrating it. It is your fault. Oh my gosh, it just makes me so mad. Obviously, Kamala Harris, released her own statement, and she's supporting it too. They're just mad because they didn't like some of the rulings. So what their answer is to explode the whole thing.
Yep.
It's so typically Democrat.
Absolutely. God. Absolutely.
So Biden went to Austin to talk about this, and I tried to watch the speech, and I was like, oh, Biden's addressing the country. I should probably tune into that. I was sleeping like 30 seconds in. I could not bear it, you guys. Did anybody try to listen to this?
Yeah, I can't with him anymore.
Unbearable. And then, so I did listen to the part where he brought up Project 2025. Now, what that has to do with the Supreme Court? Is anybody
who's gonna start fact checking that crap? I am so sick of it. I see it on our social media pages, and I will call people out. I'm like, you are uninformed. You're a liar. You're either one of the two. Just stop it with the Project 2025 crap. Seriously, it's a talking point it's a lie. And people, y'all, if you see it, call people out because Trump has a whole other agenda. It's a completely different and separate agenda that has nothing to do with Project 2025. So call people out on that.
I mean, for real. It was so funny. There was a video going around that actually was Kamala's headquarters, the official Kamala headquarters account, retweeted this old video of JD Vance being interviewed. And so it just shows JD Vance, and he's talking about like his policy ideas, whatever. And the caption from Kamala headquarters said, here's JD Vance completely promoting and saying that he believes in Project 2025.
Oh my God.
The problem was that the interviewer was Ben Dominick, who did the interview back in 2021 before Project 2025 was even a thing. And so he retweeted it and said, this isn't about Project 2025. I should know because I'm the one doing the freaking interview. But that's the level of deception that the Kamala campaign can get away with right now without being fact-checked.
Yeah, they will never be fact-checked by this media, by this propaganda machine that is our media. It's ridiculous. We seriously live in communist China now when it comes to the media. Oh
my God.
They're insane.
Media stuff to talk about too.
Yeah, we do.
But anyway, Biden brought up Project 2025 in his SCOTUS remarks yesterday. And so I did clip a little bit of that just so you can hear how they continue to lie about this ridiculous thing.
Now, there's an extreme movement and agenda called Project 2025.
God, shut up.
Well, by the way, they're serious, man. They're planning another onslaught attacking civil rights in America. For example, Project 2025 calls aggressively attacking diversity, equity, and inclusion all across all aspects of American life.
I mean, it's just garbage. It's just garbage.
It's just whenever that guy speaks, he freaking lies.